Welcome to today's content. We're gonna talk about the land commercialization initiative. So we'll talk about the preview of the land commercialization initiative in Kenya. What is about land commercialization? That is the background, enabling legislation for the land commercialization initiative, and how the LCI works. That's the land commercialization initiative. So, what do you need to invest in the land commercialization initiative, and what are the investment projects or areas that have been identified under protection and guarantees for you to be able to invest within the land commercialization initiative within the country? So, for those who have been following the area and segment, the land commercialization initiative was launched by the cabinet secretary in May 2022. So it was through cabinet memorandum, that is memorandum that was guiding these land commercialization initiatives, so that to be able to improve the essence and the aspect of food and nutrition security in the country. Because at the moment we have around 5.4 million Kenyans who are at risk, and in terms of at global level we have around 784 million people who are facing hunger and starvation. So this today is to provide an overview on what is the framework for the land commercialization initiative for the country, so that in case you are an investor and interested in the program, you can be able to get further foundation. So what is a land commercialization initiative per se? So land commercialization initiative is an initiative of the Kenyan Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock, that is MOILD, implemented by the Agriculture Transformation Office and led by the Department of Agriculture Engineering Services with the support of the development partners. So the Ministry of Agriculture and Land is pursuing a large-scale agricultural commercialization, a model by making underutilized land owned by state and private sector through leasing to investors. So one of the things they seek to achieve is reducing the underutilization of government-owned land for agricultural production. So the government-owned lands are quite underutilized at the moment. So that's an area they seek to optimize and be able to utilize. Then the other aspect is commercialization of agricultural land at the expense of food production challenge. There is need to be solved. At the moment, we have quite a competition of the real estate area encroachment within the agricultural production land. For example, we have Kiambu areas. Areas that are close to peri-urbans, Nakuru. Yeah. Those are productive lands that are quite being utilized at the moment for real estate. The other aspect is dependence on small-scale farming to meet national nutritional demands. So we're actually relying on smallholder farmers to be able to feed our nation. And then there is also an aspect of low mechanization of agriculture, inhibiting optimum output for the local economy. So all these is scheduled under the BETA, that is the Bottom-Up Economic Transformation Agenda, that's 2022-2027. So with the pillars of agriculture, housing and settlement, healthcare, micro, small, medium enterprises, economy, and then digital superhighway and a creative economy. So the priority areas, we have foreign exchange, jobs, incomes, ending poverty, and making Kenya an industrial hub. So one of the objectives is to grow export capacity, agricultural growth for increased opportunities, to agricultural growth of enhanced incomes for producers, and the surplus food production for national food security. Then there is what we seek for intensified agro-processing. Now, the LCI, as I mentioned, carries out its mandate through the cabinet memorandum that was issued in May, that is in 2022, to authorize the underutilized public land so that it could be leased out. So under the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act. So the Ministry of Agriculture and Development has to identify land sites for agricultural investment. So once the land is identified, the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock uh, Development does the initial screening of land sites to gather data on the suitability, environmental and social risk, and the legal status prior to profiling. So on land suitability, what is the ministry seeking out? So it's seeking to assess the viability in relation to soil, topography, climate, infrastructure, human resource, and determine readiness in agricultural activity. On environmental aspects, looking at the social and economic impacts and opportunities and risks. And the legal aspect, we're looking at the assess the unencumbered sites to determine viability and security for investors. If there is an approved master plan, geosurveys and titles. So based on the findings, that is when the Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock and Development, Test of Development will advertise land sites to the public through a government web portal, then offer an EOI, that's expression of interest, and subsequently request for proposal, that's the RFPs, to potential investors via the land portal and other forms of mass media. Then applications are made by potential investors and screened. Then shortlisted investors are interviewed and through a due diligence where necessary. So that before you invest, the government is aware about who is doing the investment. Now, which are some of the institutions that will be available for investors and doing a collaboration of these activities? So we have the national and the local administration. They shall be facilitating public participation and engagement, which is quite key within the ecosystem at the moment. Then we have Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development coordinating leasing agreement activities. Then the Office of the Attorney General providing legal advice, structuring the leasing agreement for investors. Then we have landowners, so who lease and leases land to the investors, and investors who lease land from owners. Ministry of Lands and Fiscal Planning, National Land Commission, they ensure compliance with relevant land laws within the country ecosystem. So the project proposals are evaluated based on preliminary criteria. One is the investor profile and background, scope and justification, case for investment, demand and technical engineering, legal and institutional analysis, value of investment, operation cost, financial, economic and environmental social impact evaluation to the community. So what are the minimum requirements for you to be part of the LCI project? What do you need to be able to participate? So you have to demonstrate, as an investor, you have to demonstrate financial capacity, the experience and the expertise to deliver investment required. You also require to demonstrate how prior similar investments were financed and evidencing how the financing arrangements were set up. Then you need to demonstrate deep experience in areas of investment, the evidence by having undertook similar projects. Then demonstrate technical capacity, experience, and expertise to undertake planning, preparation of business case and risk management. Then demonstrate experience around executing large agriculture projects that will generate value to the public citizens in terms of food security, income generation, and or export value. Then demonstrate capacity and experience on leveraging synergies, structuring, financing, and technical solutions to ensure the investment is delivered. Then demonstrate evidence of good planning to enhance community linkages to the project and demonstrate experience and adoption or planned adoption of sustainable green technologies, climate smart agriculture, and efficient use of power and water technologies. Now, in addition to these minimum requirements, what else do pre-qualified investors or bidders provide? So you need to provide a letter of expression of interest. That's a cover letter, not exceeding 2 pages. Length containing the investor's single point of contact, details, name and address, email, telephone number, and blah, blah, blah. Then the firm's company profile in terms of the investor should provide a brief description of the organization and outline the recent experience relevant to the investment. Then the financial statements, investor to provide a third party or via an NDA, audited account for the last 3 years an entity firm demonstrating financial capability and amount commitment to this investment. Then organization of the project team describe the members, qualification and responsibilities. Then we have reference section of referees for previous projects that firm have implemented elsewhere. Now, the evaluation of the EOI, that's expression of interest and screening of investors, will be based on the pre-qualification criteria set by the ministry. Now, the pre-qualified investors who meet the minimum score shall be invited, requested to submit the investment proposal, feasibility study, and business plan through a call for RFP, that is a question for proposals. Now, once there's a call for proposals, that's a request for proposals, the pre-qualified investors will be asked to submit their proposals. So that is a comprehensive feasibility study combined with a business plan for each LCI project. Then who are the target investors? The land commercialization initiative is open to Kenyan and foreign investors. Quite good. So the opportunity is quite open to all parties, that is internal and external investors. Then the investors of the LCI are expected to be in the agribusiness, but may include qualified individuals, institutions, cooperatives, farmer groups, associations, etc. So this is not actually exhaustive according to the ministry, but the individual or entity willing to allocate resources to invest in the LCI should meet the general screen criteria and will be considered. So what is the investor facilitation? Now, for the ministry to ensure efficiency and rapidity of the local and foreign investors, business seeking registration services and acquiring of necessary permits and licenses to operate in Kenya, the Kenya Investment Authority, KInvest, shall provide pre-investment and aftercare services, including the issuance of investment certificate, which provides investors with preliminary and mandatory operational licenses. So also in other terms, the Land Commercialization Initiative is working with the authorities to ease the process of investment. That is the Office of the Attorney General to register businesses, oversee movable property, securing rights, registry. Then we have the KRA, the Kenya Revenue Authority, to ensure tax compliance by investors. Then the National Treasury advise on applicable tax incentives. And then we have the KEBS, Kenya Bureau of Standards, product quality certification. Then we have NEMA, National Environmental Authority, Management Authority, approval of environmental impact and social impact assessment reports. Now, what are the LCI investment projects and areas? So I'll provide a summary of the LCI target, that is the Land Commercialization Initiative investment projects that are targeted, so that eventually at the moment, the government has mapped out 8 areas, that is Galana Kulalu, we have Bura Irrigation Scheme, Egerton University, Kiambere Farm, Kirimam Field Unit, Masinga Farm, Tana Delta Irrigation Project, then we have Tana Irrigation Scheme. Now, so those are the areas are currently mapped out that are and available without issues around water, issues around legal incumbrance, issues around suitability in terms of climate accessibility and survey status. So a preview and summary about these areas one by one. To begin with, we have Galana Kulalu irrigation scheme, and the area has around 10,000 acres of land, which is the LCI recommended area. It has no issues in terms of the existing cases. The overall land do not interfere with the leasability of the land. Then the survey status also, the allocator size just requires proper demarcation to establish clear boundaries. Then the other side, in terms of soil, the land is quite with potential for agriculture. The topsoil is adapted to a wide range of crops and facilitate efficient pivot irrigation. So it's located in an arid zone, therefore suitable for irrigation. So it is in an accessible area with essential physical infrastructure like roads, airstrip, generators, irrigation systems. So facilitating the utilization of the natural resource. So it has quite equipments and buildings because it has an operational pivot at the moment. and machinery, tractors, combine harvesters, subsoilers, disc seeders, boom sprayers, trailers, grain dryers, spreaders, and forklifts that are available on the site. So where is the location? It is situated 105 kilometers northwest of Malindi in Kilifi and Tana